Welcome to today's lesson in exercise science. Today we're going to be focusing on the anatomy and physiology unit, and within that unit we are going to be looking at the bones of the foot. Now, if you remember looking at the bones of the hand, you'll remember that there were 8 carpal bones which formed the wrist. In the foot, there's a very similar setup with bones. However, instead of 8 carpal bones, we have 7 tarsal bones. Those bones allow for the mobility in the foot, much like the carpals allow for high mobility in the wrist. We're going to start with the talus. And the talus you see here. Here it is again in a sagittal view. The talus is a large solid bone that supports the tibia and the fibula, and together they form the hinge joint of the ankle. Calcaneus, you will see here, commonly known as your heel or heel bone. Looking at it here in a side view, you'll see that the large muscles of the back of the leg attached to the calcaneus via the Achilles tendon. The cuboid is located right here. The navicular you'll see here on the medial side of the foot. Cuneiforms 1, 2, and 3 are located here, here, and here, and they are also referred to as medial, intermediate, and lateral. You can choose either definition. 1, 2, 3, or medial, intermediate, and lateral are all acceptable. The metatarsals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and very similarly to the hand, the metatarsals form the main area of the foot. In the hand, the metacarpals form the main area of the hand. And again, like in the hand, the foot has 14 phalanges, 5 proximal, 5 distal, each digit having a proximal and distal phalange. And then again, because the toes, as in the case of the fingers, have 3 phalanges, there is also a middle phalange in those 4 digits, the toe having only 2 phalanges, distal and proximal. Now, a couple of features that we want to focus on when we're looking at the foot. The first one is a hinge joint, and I've mentioned this already. The hinge joint that is formed between the tibia and the fibula and the talus is a hinge type joint, allows for plantar flexion, which is flexion this way, and dorsiflexion, which is flexion in this direction. The subtalar joint, which allows the foot to invert and evert, is found right here, and that is called the subtalar joint because that joint exists below the talus. And finally, the transverse tarsal joint, which cuts the foot from side to side. You can see here it extends from the lateral to the medial side, right underneath the tarsal bone again. And this joint, along with the subtalar joint, allows the foot to invert and evert. Now, there are a couple more features that I do want to point out, and those are the bony structures which form the arches of the foot. And looking at this diagram here, you'll see there are 3 significant individual arches. There is the medial longitudinal arch, which runs from the front to the back of the foot along the inner side, highlighted right here, and that is this arch. There is the lateral longitudinal arch, which again goes from front to back, and you can see it right here. And the final arch is the transverse arch, which runs from side to side, and you can see it right here. Now, the purpose of those arches are to form a nice stable support for the body, and this comes into play when the person is walking on uneven or rough surfaces. They also allow us to absorb shock every time we step. Multiple times our own body weight forces down on our feet, so the arches allow us to absorb this shock without injury. And finally, the arches act as a lever. Every time we try to step, jump, or run, we push off, and those arches allow us to transform that force that comes from the muscles down the back of the leg through to the front of the foot, and it gives us leverage as we walk and move. Okay, you can focus in on page 41 and 42, I believe, in the coloring book, and take a look at those, color in what you need to do. Again, make up an acronym like you did for the bones of the hand. They will allow you to easily understand and memorize the bones of the foot. Good luck and have a nice day.